If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
Hello and welcome to Reproductive Rebel. I am your hostess, Adrienne Irizarry. As an Eastern medicine practitioner that uses holistic approaches to women's care, I tackle the elephant in the room, our collective frustration with the allopathic healthcare system. In this podcast, I give you a new way to look at your body, understand what it is telling you, and care for your reproductive health. Welcome to this journey. I'm so glad you're here. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am your hostess, Adrienne Irizarry. In today's episode, we're going to get back to basics and talk about healthy menstruation. You may be thinking, whoa, Adrienne, I've been bleeding for years now. I know what normal menstruation looks like, but my question is, do you? I ask that question because I have found in my years of practice that there is a lot of assumptions that are made across the board for what a healthy period should look like, and much of this is due to a lack of education. I don't know if this lack of education is because of our predominantly abstinence-only culture, where if we don't teach them how to use it, they won't, or if this is one of the more insidious cultural subtexts that takes away a woman's power. Whatever the catalyst for this way of thinking, it causes far more harm than good. I have grown women who've been trying for years to get pregnant come into my practice in tears with absolute frustration, only to find out that they weren't counting their cycle correctly and they were missing their fertile window entirely. Spoiler alert, yes, you really are only fertile a few days each month. Not the entire month like we've been led to believe. More on this later. Learning how to properly count their cycle with a few changes in lifestyle habits, they were able to conceive naturally. Folks, the stories I could tell you about frustration, heartache, and disharmony that resulted entirely from a lack of information about how women's bodies worked. So, we will start at the beginning, so you have the 411 on what is going on inside of your body, without all of the technical speak. You have 4 phases to your monthly cycle: the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase. If we talk about it from an Eastern perspective, the menstrual and follicular phases are put together in the yin phase, which focuses on bodily substance. Ovulation is its own energetic chi event, and the yang phase is the luteal phase. You will hear me weave the Western and Eastern vocabulary as I talk about how your month works because I believe that there are valuable aspects in both lenses. The first day of your cycle. This is the first day of your new hormonal month. It is the first day of red blood. I'm going to say that again. It's the first day of red blood. Not brown spotting, not brown discharge that is persistent enough. It looks like a flow, but actual red blood that is consistent enough that it is flow-like. This is your cycle day 1. Everything else in your entire month is counted from this day. When you have hormone testing, your OBGYN will ask to test FSH levels or LH levels. They will typically do that on cycle day 3. You need to know what the true day 1 is of your cycle in order to get accurate results on these labs. Knowing where day 1 is helps you determine when your fertile window will start. You will know when you should start seeing healthy cervical mucus, indicating that you are fertile and headed towards this ovulation event, which puts your fertility in your hands. When we don't know what days we could ovulate on, we don't know what little roadmap of fertile mucus our body creates for us each month. It is easy to get pregnant unintentionally or miss the short window available to us. I will do a whole episode on this fertile window roadmap in the future. The point is to emphasize how important it is to know when to start counting your cycle for the entire month. When your cycle is healthy, your blood will start red on day 1 without hesitation. Your bleeding days are a time for rest. Keep your body warm with clothing and warm, easily digestible foods. Resting during this time sets the tone for your health, energy, and immune system for the entire rest of the month. This is a critical piece of information that our ancestors understood and has been lost over time as our world moves faster and faster. Lay low as much as you can until you're through your heaviest bleeding days, which in a typical healthy cycle is cycle day 2 or 3. When you work for an employer, I totally understand it is hard to make your own schedule and honor your body's demands. Even though this may be the case, you can still steal a 20-minute nap on your lunch break as just one of the little ways that you help your body to function optimally during your bleeding days. During this time of the month, if you are tracking your basal body temperature, your basal temperature will generally stay below 97.5 degrees Fahrenheit until ovulation. Once your FSH and LH levels, which are important hormones in preparing your body for ovulation that month, start to rise, your energy level should naturally start to rise gradually along with them. In a healthy 28 to 30 day cycle, you should ovulate between day 14 and 16 of your cycle. While some variance is expected, this is a pretty typical window for ovulation to occur. During ovulation, we will see a half to a full degree rise in the basal temperature, which will signal that the corpus luteum is functioning correctly because the body is hyperthermic, which is just a fancy way of saying the body temperature is elevated. The yang energy is strong when the body temp is elevated. It should remain elevated until the time of menses. If no pregnancy has resulted, the temperature will drop and the blood will arrive shortly after. If you are pregnant, the temp should remain elevated for a healthy pregnancy. When everything is in harmony, it should be the most energetic time of your month during ovulation. You will feel social, outgoing, and verbally nimble. The luteal phase starts high energy, and as it progresses, your energy level will start to shift from being outward and social to more focused and inward. Average luteal phases are 13 to 17 days long, resulting in a temperature drop and a period beginning, or remaining elevated and a pregnancy progressing. Your period should be 4 to 6 days of fresh red blood only. No brown blood, no clots, no cramps, no stringy menses, no emotional symptoms. If your period brings anything other than a quiet entrance and exit of your menstrual blood, your body has already tried to communicate to you that it needs some form of support. I'm sure that there are some of you listening right now that are rolling your eyes with what I'm saying and that I'm offering a pipe dream here. I know you're out there. I used to feel the exact same way. I assure you, this is achievable. With the right kind of support at the right times of the month, everything is possible. For some of you, this is probably a little less mind-blowing than it is for others. I start here because this is the cycle that we will use as a measuring stick to base all of the rest of our understanding and discussions about our cycle from.
And now for a quick break and a word from our sponsor. Moon Essence is excited to bring you a new resource, the Moon Essence app. Moon Essence is a one-of-a-kind resource providing women a holistic way to support their reproductive health and wellness. Feel in the driver's seat of your own health with evidence-based interventions proven to decrease symptoms experienced with your cycle each month, increase your fertility, and ease life transitions for women in every phase of life. Empowering women's bodies with education about their health journey is the heart of our work. Head over to the Apple App Store or Google Play and download this free educational resource today.
Your cycle doesn't exist in a vacuum. You have an internal set of 4 seasons that's happening inside your body every month. But that also interacts with the seasons in nature happening outside of your body. I know this sounds complicated, but stay with me for a second. For example, the winter is the season of the kidneys. The season of the kidneys is a time for rest, hibernation, and restoration. Just like the trees outside don't look like they're doing much during the winter time, you may not feel like you're doing much during this rest phase, but it's vitally important to your health all year long. Just as winter transforms into spring outside of your window, so too does the energy inside your body. In the wintertime, you rest. It doesn't mean stop moving entirely and be a hermit. I believe that you can strike a balance between resting and seasonally appropriate movement. Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, and even weightlifting can all be appropriate in the wintertime. The first 3 sound pretty obvious. They're slower paced and restorative to the mind and body. How does weightlifting fit in there, you ask? Kidneys in Chinese medicine play a role in strong bones. I believe that weightlifting, because of the tug of muscle on bone, is appropriate for winter. That said, I'm also not suggesting that you should try to set personal records during this time. Work the muscles, but don't strive for straining the muscles to an extreme. You get all of the benefits of weight training without zapping your kidney qi. Some Eastern practitioners would argue with me on this point, but I do believe that weightlifting, in a mindful way, can yield immense benefit for your body and mind without totally zapping the energy that you're looking to restore and build in this time frame. More on this in upcoming episodes. I explain all of this because of how we look at the external climate of nature interacting with your internal cyclical nature to see how it all fits. We're going to go back to this winter concept. It may be the winter season outside your window, but inside your body, you experience all 4 seasons in 28 to 30 days. During your bleeding days in the wintertime, you are literally in the deepest yin of deepest yin. The winter season hormonally as well as in nature. During the same winter season, you will internally have spring and summer energy, where you have more energy to do the things that you want to do. That natural rise in your internal energy with the hormone changes this season is normal. What we want to be mindful of is doing more in moderation. If you're still in the hibernating season, even though you have more energy, you are not doing HIIT workouts 5 days a week. You are doing yoga and lifting 2 to 3 days a week, maybe without extremes to your weightlifting. Taking time to meditate. You are mindfully balancing movement with rest. As we move into spring and summer in our external environment, we can pick up the pace and intensity of our activity level internally with exercises as those shifts take place. Spring is a great time to add a little more cardio and get the blood moving so we don't get liver qi stagnation, making us feel restless, anxious, and more easily irritated, for example. Okay, so we went over the logistics of what happens inside of the body, but let's talk about the lived experience of it all. Every phase of our month has a different energy level. No, you aren't crazy, feeling like you're on fire and everything flows with ease during some parts of your month, and other parts of your month, it is a straight up fight to get out of bed. This is totally normal. Let me say that again. A change of energy level through the month is normal. We haven't been taught this is normal, however. In fact, if we don't remain in that busy, bustling, spring and summer, energetic energy all the time, we are made to feel by society like there is something wrong with us. Let me assure you, there is nothing wrong with you. You are just a woman experiencing the normal cadence of your healthy hormone cycle. Now, this up and down feeling can get magnified with imbalances. You may feel more down than up, but that is part of how your body is trying to communicate with you and ask for help. Not feeling like you can run a marathon every day or get a personal best weight training every day is totally normal. Keep in mind, men experience their hormone cycles in a much shorter time frame than we do. We experience ours over the course of 28 to 30 days. That's a long time. There are going to be times you're going to feel more social. There are going to be times where you can multitask like a boss. There are going to be times where you are not going to want to talk to anyone, but your mind is extremely clear and you want to focus on quiet, planning-related tasks. This is all totally normal. If we learn to plan our work around when we are at our best for certain tasks, there's nothing we can't do. During menstruation, we rest. The first couple days of bleeding are the most important to rest. Take a break from hard workouts at the gym and trade that for a gentler, mindful movement like yoga, qigong, or walking. Trade anything that goes up and in for that allows a natural down and out energy. Tampons and other forms of penetration can make cramping worse. Allow the river to flow as nature intended. Keep your body warm and sneak as much rest as you can. This is the winter season of your body, so dress accordingly. The rest of the month, your body will thank you. The follicular phase is your energetic spring of your cycle. Think about what it feels like in the springtime. The temperatures get warmer, the days get longer, and your energy levels naturally start to increase. You feel a little less like hibernating and a lot more like socializing. You emerge from the rest of your bleeding days and you feel like taking on more during the day. Your energy level and strength grow with each day until we reach ovulation. Just before, during, and just after ovulation is your most vibrant time of the month. It's like the peak of summertime. You will likely hit that personal record at the gym. You want to socialize, network, and be intimate with your partner. We are most interested in sex during this time. Naturally so. In the luteal phase or the yang phase of your cycle, your temperature is elevated, like I said before, but your social desire starts to shift from being slightly more extroverted to being a little more introverted, regardless of how you identify, where planning tasks that require an acute mind but are less group-oriented are the best kinds of work planning during this phase. When we plan our workflow and our social schedules in aligned rhythm with our cycles, we see decreases in our symptoms the week before and the week of menstruation. We are not working against the energetic flow of the river, but rather with it. Even when the bleeding years are in the rear view, keeping this same energetic transition and alignment with the moon phases will help you to feel balanced. You will just work with the light in the sky, with the new moon being more rest like menstruation and the full moon being most social during the month. If you are on hormonal birth control, you won't feel the same energetic shift as you do when you're not on hormonal birth control because you're taking medication. But you can still plan your workflow with the moon phases to work in the natural energetic ebb and flow. Everything I've outlined so far sounds lovely, doesn't it? I can already feel the skeptics saying, but it's not like that for me. That's okay. You're not alone. I've been saying since the time I opened my practice that 99% of women who come through the door of my practice have some level of an imbalance. While I leave the possibility that a unicorn may walk through my door one day, the reality is our world is stressful. Our body can't tell the difference between being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and 100 unanswered emails in our inbox. Both generate the same stress response in the body, and our body prioritizes resources to get you away from the tiger, which over time slowly starts to manifest as imbalances in our reproductive system. The reason for this is your primal brain has two basic functions: survive and procreate. Survival will always trump procreation. Always. Because let's face it, you don't need the uterus unless you get away from the tiger. So for that reason, imbalances start to show up in our reproductive system, particularly if we are high stress individuals. Learning to work with the energetic changes in our cycle will help you to decrease some of your stress and help your experience with your symptoms. Integrating things that we talk about in this program will help you to also decrease your symptoms. It is possible to have a more harmonious relationship with your cycle, and my goal with this program is to educate you so that you do not have to accept the misery that comes with your cycle now, and give you the tools to help create the change that you want to see. When we don't have the proper support in the yin phase of our cycle, imbalances will show up. Now remember that yin phase is the menstrual period and the follicular phase while the egg is being selected and matured for ovulation. The yin phase is an ideal time to do focused work on symptoms of blood stasis and blood stagnation. I know I threw some fancy terms in there, but these look like for you, like cramps, fibroids, and anxiety, just to name a few. This phase is a great time to create change for individuals who have low estrogen levels, thin uterine lining, personal dryness, and more. The ovulation phase may not be the high energy, smooth flow time of the month that I outlined in the beginning. Ovulation can be painful, or some people even have emotional symptoms or a mini PMS that happens, and these symptoms show up because of disharmony. These mini PMS symptoms could be mood or energetic levels, resulting in frustration, stress, irritability, anger, cramping, and pain. During the yang phase, your temperature should remain elevated. But for some who chart their cycle, they find that their temperature is all over the place. Disharmony in the yang phase is where we get symptoms of PMS or PMDD, showing up with depressed mood, irritability, or even a shorter luteal phase, which makes carrying a baby to term difficult. How your symptoms present tells a story about what's going on inside your body and how a practitioner like me can help you live your life with more ease. Cramping, brown blood, mid-cycle bleeding, fibroids, they're all signs that there's something going on in the internal climate of your body. As an Eastern practitioner, I view my role in this whole process as a gardener. You would never yell at a plant that isn't growing, right? It sounds silly to even suggest it, saying it aloud. What you would do is you'd look at the plant and you'd give it more water, more plant food. Maybe you'd move it to another window for a different amount of sunlight. You would change the plant's conditions in order to help it thrive. That's exactly what I do. Based on what the body is telling me through symptoms and other ways of showing up in the world, I figure out what the body needs to reach towards homeostasis so that you can thrive. All the body needs is the right conditions. Your body is brilliant and it knows what to do. This is where things like hormonal birth control can create issues. Hormonal birth control is the only medication designed to interrupt a healthy process in the body. Your body needs to go through this healthy cycle each month for your mental, physical, and emotional health. There is an article in The Guardian that keeps popping up and it drives me crazy. It's circulating from 2019 and it's all about how your body doesn't need a period. They advocate for just continuing to take the hormonal contraceptives over and over to keep the blood away and that it's without consequence. I call bullshit. Recently, there was a documentary about the business of birth control that was released. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It goes through the history of this product, and definitely check it out if you are interested in learning more about the science behind my statement, as well as the history behind birth control and the extreme risks to using it. Most women who are on hormonal birth control aren't even aware that there is a warning label. It is a leaflet on the inside of the box that most people don't take time to fully read, not to mention it is written in the smallest print on the planet. There are many risks to taking hormonal contraceptives, as many risks as there are to smoking. Both are black warning label products. I'm not trying to demonize birth control. Just make you aware that it doesn't control your cycle. It doesn't regulate anything. I'm going to say that again. It doesn't regulate anything. And I know that sounds wild because the way we talk about birth control is that it helps to regulate our cycle, but it doesn't. It interrupts a healthy hormone cycle in your body that affects your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. If you are struggling with blood pressure, mood disorders, and are taking hormonal birth control, I urge you to take a look at the packaging. Lisa Hendrickson Jack is a fertility awareness educator, and she has an amazing book called The Fifth Vital Sign. It is a great read about how your hormones work, how cycles should work, how to identify fertility signs, and more. I am hoping at some point to maybe have Lisa on this show, but she's highly in demand because she is amazing at what she does. But I highly recommend that everyone who is a bleeding body read this book at some point. There is so much great information in there. If you feel the need to use birth control, that is 100% your choice. I just offer this so that you can be an informed consumer to make the best choice for you, your lifestyle, health risks, and all.
And now for a quick break and a word from our sponsor.
I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I learned nearly enough about the physical and energetic demands of my adult female body when I was younger. Not Your Mama's Menstrual Course is an online self-study course to get exactly that, the information that most of us didn't get when our periods first started. In this course, I discuss the energetic changes and physical requirements of each phase of your cycle. Working in harmony with your cycle will help lessen your PMS symptoms and help you to properly support each phase of your cycle. Your month is comprised of so much more than just menstruation. There is a beautiful dance of hormones and energies that comprise our entire monthly cycle. Interested in learning more information? Get your copy of Not Your Mama's Menstrual Course today. Now, back to the show. This was a lot of information, but do you feel like this is a totally new way of looking at your body? Don't worry, you're not alone. When I first started this work, I spent a long time feeling really angry that this information wasn't shared with me when we learned about the birds and the bees. You can teach women about their bodies in an age-appropriate way. Our culture objectifies the female body and associates it with everything sexual. This subtext is the driver behind why we as women are not taught this very functional information from the time we start our periods. Unfortunately, for some reason, we cannot separate sex from bodily function. And I totally believe that it is possible to have an age-appropriate, body literacy-driven conversation with young girls that doesn't have anything to do with sex. But I digress. I was angry at the years I lost to cramps, migraines, heavy flood periods because I hadn't been taught a few life hacks to care for myself in the right timing. Even if you've been menstruating for years, it is not too late. With the right kind of attention to your body and where you are in your hormonal month, it is possible to reverse the marks of the years of imbalance. I know it's possible because when I started out, I was the biggest skeptic, and now I'm living proof that it's possible. I hope this information was helpful for you and gives you a new way of understanding what your body is telling you. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast, wishing you harmony and health during your cycle and each month forward.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. If you like what you hear, please consider making a contribution to the Reproductive Rebel podcast. Your support in any amount helps us continue to inspire current and future generations. Show your love for this content in the listeners support section below. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist, herbalist, sound healer, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment with Adrienne for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter to get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like us and follow Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.